From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Good evening, Houston. Everybody cross your fingers. The big game is tomorrow. I have insisted to my friends that I think the Texans defense is frankly going to kill Aaron Rodgers. He's a 4-year-old man, and we have one of the greatest defenses in the league. I don't think Aaron Rodgers stands a chance, but he insists that the Steelers are going to win. I think he's just being a hater. We'll see. Anyway, obviously we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get to everything that happened in Minneapolis and is still frankly happening in Minneapolis. We're going to get to all of that a little bit later in the show. I want to start off on a positive note. It's really easy to look at these, headlines and major situations that are, flying off the handle, and it's really easy to just get bummed out and think it's all over. America made it 250 years, and now we're done for. I don't think that's the case. If you look at kind of the broad picture, things are going well here in the United States. They are getting better, and that's why the left is trying to ratchet up these crazy situations so that they can campaign off of things going poorly. It's not reality. It's really happening, but the idea that America is in large-scale decline is not reality. The opposite is actually true, in my opinion. And I think the numbers and what we're seeing from the administration actually back that up. So I want to talk first in this first segment about housing. Obviously, I'm a younger person. This show is geared largely to address the younger crowd, the 18 to 30-year-olds. Older folks, we love you. Please stay and listen. I dedicate this show a lot to you as well because obviously y'all have been around the block. We younger folks need your advice on a lot of things, but largely this is for the younger folks, and the younger folks are really concerned about housing. We want to own homes. I want to own a home eventually someday. I live in an apartment right now, and I'm happy. I like it, but I'd like to own a home one day. And a lot of people my age have gotten it in their heads that that will never be possible because of how expensive homes are. And that is for a couple of reasons. One, I think, is mass migration. I mean, you import tens of millions of people into the country. They have to live somewhere. They do. That puts a higher demand on housing. And maybe they're not buying homes, but they are living in apartments. And that causes the price to go up across the board. So that is, I think, being addressed. And then the other thing is housing has become a commodity in a way that it wasn't necessarily, 150 to 200 years ago. Or even more recently than that. Let's say 60 to 80 years ago, I don't think it was treated as the commodity that it's treated as now. Trump is addressing both those issues. If you're a young person and you want to own a home one day, listen, you can sit here and say, oh, I don't like this, and this that the Trump administration is doing. But on housing, he is helping you. And you have to admit that. So first, I want to highlight something from December. Back on December 17th, during one of his big press conferences, Trump actually went out of his way to point out the fact that, hey, we have had reduced immigration, and that is going to help you buy a home. We've not even had reduced immigration. We've also had remigration. People are leaving, which means the demand on housing is going to fall, which means the price is going to fall along with it. Take a listen to this. If I can get it to play. There we go.
A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants. At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens. 100%.
So that's great for everybody, right? I mean, you get higher wages. There's more demand for your labor, so that's nice. And then on top of that, yeah, the demand for housing falls, so housing affordability will go up. Obviously, this isn't going to happen overnight, right? If you're a young person right now, if you're in your 20s, 25 to 30, like I am, and you're thinking, oh, great, so I can go and buy a house tomorrow? Well, no, probably not. We have to give this time to set in, but it is getting closer, right? Now, the other thing that Trump has done recently this week, which I think is a huge game changer, is he has now banned or is going to ban or severely limit, I don't know the details of this exactly, but he's going to be restricting how much institutional investors can invest in things like single-family housing. So here's the Truth Social post where he announced it. He copied it and put it up on Twitter. He put it up on Twitter. For a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. It was the reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. It is for that reason, and much more, that I am immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes, and I will be calling on Congress to codify it. People live in homes, not corporations. I will discuss this topic, including further housing and affordability proposals, and more at my speech in Davos in 2 weeks. Again, this is great news. I'm traditionally skeptical of this because I am more of a libertarian, but I think a modicum of practicality is needed here. And the harsh reality is, if we continue to allow institutional investors to just buy up as much property as they want, it is going to continue to push the average person out of homeownership and into just renting for eternity. So while I am libertarian and would say, hey, let companies do business how they want with whatever resources they want, we also need to balance that with reality. And I think this is an example of that. All right, hey, we got a great show coming up. We'll be right back after this ad break. I'm Ethan Buchanan. This is the Next Gen Report. Alrighty. Real quick, if you're in a place to do so, obviously if you're driving, don't do this right now. Do it later. But if you're stationary or if you're listening at home, real quick, go follow me on X @_Ethan Buchanan. This is the Next Gen Report. On our mission to remain positive despite the fact that Minneapolis may be careening towards Civil War II, Let's before we get into all of that here in the second segment, talk a little bit about Venezuela. So obviously, my position has been cautiously optimistic, I think. I'm not an interventionist. I don't necessarily like interventionism, but I also am a big believer of when necessary and when beneficial, the United States wield its might like a hammer and destroy our enemies. And that, I think, is what has happened in Venezuela, to the benefit of the American people and the people of Venezuela. Again, I have yet to see a single Venezuelan person, either online or in person. And I live in Houston. I know a lot of Hispanic people from the South American region, even a few from Venezuela, descendants of first or second gen immigrants. I haven't found a single person yet who's actually Venezuelan that's upset that we took out Nicolas Maduro. I found plenty of leftists plenty of Democrats who swear up and down, oh, this is illegal, this is horrible. The United States is imperialist. We just want their oil. And yeah, we kind of want their oil. But again, I think if I had to, or if any reasonable person really had to choose between China having Venezuela's oil or America having it, you would choose America. Because that's who was getting it before, was China. It was the Chinese. So, again, I have yet to see this be a bad thing. Now, there is the concern that this will lead to some long, drawn-out war, and I'm not particularly interested in that, and I think that's a concern we need to keep our eyes on. We need to make sure that we kind of get ahead of any possible situation and we don't let our operations in Venezuela devolve into some, long, drawn-out conflict. But as of right now, it doesn't appear that that's really going to happen. It looks like we've kind of shock and awed all the other Venezuelan countries that would, or not Venezuelan countries, South American countries that would pose a threat to us. The Cubas or, the Colombias of the world that are also kind of under dictatorships or leaning socialistic or communist. All of them kind of understand, okay, now's probably not a great time to cross the United States of America. And those who we left in place from the Venezuelan regime seem to understand that it's in their interest to essentially become vassals of the United States. And I'll give you an example of that. Here's an announcement from Donald Trump on Truth Social this week. Venezuela is releasing a large number of political prisoners as a sign of seeking peace. Trump's words, not mine. This is a very important and smart gesture. The USA and Venezuela are working well together, especially as it pertains to rebuilding in a much bigger, better, and more modern form their oil and gas infrastructure. Because of this cooperation, I have canceled the previously expected second wave of attacks, which looks like it will not be needed. However, all ships will stay in place for safety and security purposes. So this seems kind of like the Reagan-esque trust but verify. But again, the fact that he's drawing down that second wave of attacks, remember, when he announced that first wave where we actually grabbed Nicolas Maduro, he said, we were expecting to launch a second wave of assaults, but it ended up not being necessary because we frankly kicked so much ass the first time. So, this is a good thing. It seems like the Venezuelan government understands, okay, we work for the United States now, and the fact that they're releasing these political prisoners, I believe kind of demonstrates that. We are seeing real legitimate action. This isn't just the Venezuelan government saying, all right, we'll play nice, while behind the scenes trying to undercut us. I mean, they didn't, I think, have to release these political prisoners, and I'm sure it doesn't help them in any way to do so. These aren't people that are friendly to the regime. So, hey, by all means, I'm seeing progress here. And the fact that we are now kind of pulling back and saying, hey, we're going to stay in the area, we're keeping our eye on you, but we're going to back up a little bit because you're playing nice. I like that. That tells me we're not headed for another big, forever war or what have you, which, again, that's in everybody's interest. We don't want another forever war, but we also want Venezuela to know that we are in charge. In other news, on the oil front, because, again, this was kind of about the oil, right? And that's not a minor thing. I'm not saying that dismissively. The oil is important. The oil matters, right? Right? I mean, that's a lot of money there. So Trump says Venezuela will be turning over up to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. That's a big deal. Donald Trump has said Venezuela will be turning over up to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. after a military operation to remove President Nicolas Maduro from power. The oil is worth about $2.8 billion and will be sold at its market price. The U.S. president wrote on social media, adding that he would control the money raised and use it to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. His comments come after he said the U.S. oil industry would be up and running in Venezuela within 18 months and that he expected huge investments to pour into the country. Again, this is good news. This is good news because let me tell you what would have happened if we hadn't grabbed Nicolas Maduro. Folks like China and maybe Iran if they're stable enough, but they're not very stable right now, But folks like China and other various enemies of the United States would have had control of that oil and that money, and they would have used it to benefit themselves. So these aren't, hypotheticals. It's not like this money would have just gone into the ether and never have been seen or heard from. This money would have been used to kind of kneecap the United States. That's not in our interests. We want to control this oil, right? Right? We want $2.8 billion to be used to benefit the United States and the people of Venezuela. I mean, whether or not it actually goes to benefit the people of Venezuela, that'll be seen, but it will definitely benefit the United States, and that's a good thing. We want that. So, again, was this about the oil? Not completely, but is the oil a factor? Absolutely. I think it's worth stating this is fundamentally different than previous oil wars, primarily Afghanistan. I think J.D. Vance made a good, or did a good job of making that point. Here is he earlier this week at a roundtable with a bunch of oil executives with Donald Trump, and he basically lays out the fact that this isn't just another forever war where we blow American lives and American money. This is actually going to lead to concrete advantages for the American people. Take a listen.
As a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives, and the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation for the American people. Thank you, sir.
All right, so again, even if this is as simple as we get cheaper energy, that's a big win. Even if this is as simple as the price at the pump goes down, that's a big win. Now, we've also had announcements that the money from this oil sales is going to be given to the people of Venezuela on the condition that they use it to buy American products, or maybe the government of Venezuela. That's more manufacturing jobs here in the United States. If we have other countries that are buying from us exclusively, that's good. That's good for us. That's good for our business. That's good for American jobs. Again, I have yet to see a downside here. Provided we don't get into a forever war, this looks like a good thing. All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Next Gen Report. Here's the part of the show where things get a little less excited and happy and positive. We've got to talk about what happened over the week in Minneapolis. The shooting, the clearly justified shooting. That's not to say it's not tragic. Obviously, people dying is tragic all the time. I want as many people to survive and live a happy life as possible. But if you try to hit a federal officer with your car, you're probably going to get shot. And that is what you deserve. The moment you try to take another person's life without just cause, which, I mean, almost undeniably is what happened here, you get what you have coming to you. That's not to say it's not tragic. It is. I wish this woman had made better choices and was still alive today. But she didn't. All right? That's where we're at. And this is now undeniable. So, since it originally happened on Wednesday, you may have seen it on KTRH, the Facebook page for KTRH, our sister station. I went live and I talked about this the night it happened. And we've got the details up from there. You can still go watch the replay of that live stream on KTRH's Facebook. It's there for the world to see. So I won't rehash everything, but we've had developments since then that are worth talking about. So the woman is Nicole Good, or Renee Nicole Good, and we all know that the original story is not accurate. The original story that we were pitched from the left is just preposterous. And it's undeniable now because we've got the video from that officer's camera. I'm going to play it. So if you're listening right now, this is why you should be watching the show. Obviously, you can't right now because it's not out yet. But if you're listening now, tomorrow morning, go to our YouTube page or my X page at _Ethan Buchanan, and you can see the video for yourself. It's, of course, all over Twitter. But we're going to play it right here. I'm going to do my best to censor the inappropriate bits, the words that are not allowed on the radio. But here it is. If you're watching right now, this is the video that the officer himself filmed. It shows his perspective. All right, take a listen. He hops out of his car. Her car is blocking the road. He circles around the car.
I'm not mad at you.
That's the woman that ends up getting killed.
It's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know.
And this is his wife that he is now, wife, quote unquote, that he's now talking to. He circles around the back to get a view of the license plate. And the wife of this woman shows up.
It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later.
And there she is, all cocky, with her phone in his face. It'll be the same plate tomorrow when you talk to us later. So he goes to circle back around the car now.
That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking. You want to come at us? You want to come at us?
Circles back around the car.
Some lunch, big boy.
Go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Look at how cocky this lady is. I mean, I could talk for hours about how entitled this woman is. This car, by the way, has been blocking this road, blocking these ICE officers for 3 minutes at this point. 3 minutes. Just in case you were wondering, that's 3 minutes longer than you're legally allowed to block a road. And she's just intentionally parked her car sideways to block the road and stop ICE from moving through the town. She did this intentionally. And then there's her and her wife. So now he goes to move around the car. They're trying to box it in.
Get out of the car.
Whoa! And that's when it happened. I mean, you can see it. She's looking him dead in the eye when she slams on the brakes. So this narrative that, oh, she didn't see him. Oh, she just panicked. Maybe she did panic. That doesn't excuse her actions. But the idea that she couldn't see him, or the idea that she was trying to pull away, it's obviously ridiculous. Again, I think there's some blame is even due on this quote unquote, again, wife here, who then walks up as they're surrounding her and ordering her out of the car. This other woman goes to get back in the passenger and goes, "Drive, baby, drive," as the officer is clearly standing in front. And again, she's looking dead at him. Again, if you're just listening right now, you can't see it. But tomorrow morning, we're recording this right now. You can go back and watch the video. You can see the driver of the vehicle looking right at the officer. There it is. It's impossible to deny. She clearly can see him. This is as she's accelerating. She's looking right at him. The idea that this wasn't at least slightly intentional. Maybe she wasn't trying exclusively to hit this officer, but she clearly didn't care if she did. Clearly. And yet, the left is still trying to portray her as the victim. Here is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, who has absolutely no dog in this fight, still trying to paint this woman as a martyr. Oh, it's so tragic that she was murdered. This was not a murder. This was clearly not a murder. This was the most blatant, justified shooting by a law enforcement officer I may have seen in my entire life. But here's the Golden State Warriors still going out and saying, again, well after this has happened. I mean, we've seen the video now. He still is saying, no, this is a murder. Take a listen.
Well, I'm glad that the Timberwolves, recognized, her life and the tragic nature of her death. And it's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it. It's shameful that the government can come out and lie about what happened when there's video and witnesses who have...
Okay, you're lying right now. I played you the video. You've seen, there's not a single angle of this incident where it's clear that this officer just murdered a lady for fun. Now, there are angles of this incident where you could say, okay, maybe she hit him on accident. Maybe she didn't mean to do it. There are some angles that allow for that. But there is not a single angle of this incident where, oh, he clearly just shot her for fun. The only ambiguity in this situation was previously, did she hit the officer on purpose? But she clearly hit the officer, which clearly justifies the use of force. Again, this guy isn't the only one. This Golden State Warriors coach. I don't watch basketball. I don't know who this guy is. But here's Milwaukee Bucks head coach, Doc Rivers. He, again, pushes the lie that, oh, this is just some mother she wasn't involved at all. She's just an innocent American who got in ICE's way a little bit and they shot her for it. It's preposterous. Take a listen.
You know, what happened in Minnesota was a straight up murder, in my opinion. And it's awful. This lady was probably trying to go home and she didn't make it home, and that's really sad. So
this lady was probably okay, first of all, you're what, a basketball coach? What is the Milwaukee Bucks? I don't know. Regardless, you're lying and you know it. You're lying and you know it. She wasn't trying to go home. She had posted up there for 3 minutes from DHS.gov. New evidence shows that the anti-ICE agitator was stalking and impeding law enforcement operations over the course of the morning. The evidence speaks for itself. She wasn't just caught in the crossfire here. They've got video here, 3 minutes of video showing her from different angles and different cameras, showing her impeding these officers. It's preposterous to say that, oh, she was just caught in the crossfire. And we knew this the entire time. Again, this is from, January 10th is when this video was posted. So he knew at the time. The left is consistently trying to make this lady out to be a victim, when the harsh reality is, this woman is a victim of nothing except her own poor choices. That's it. She is a victim of only her bad decisions. You cannot pin this on ICE unless you're just completely and intentionally cognitively dissident, or you're outright lying intentionally. Those are the only two options. If you're saying anything other than this is a tragic incident that this woman brought on herself, you are either stupid or intentionally lying. And unfortunately, I think a lot of what we're seeing from the left is the intentional lying. They're trying to vilify and demonize our law enforcement officers so that they can then go and campaign on them, because it's the midterms. It's just like what we saw with George Floyd. It's the whole thing all over again. They even picked the same city to blow out of proportion. This woman made dumb decisions and reaped the consequences of it. It's tragic, but it's her fault, not ICE. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Next Gen Report. Yeah, I've told you this woman is a victim of her own poor decisions, which I do believe and maintain is true. This woman made a series of poor decisions up to and including the decision to try and run over an ICE officer, to hit an ICE officer with her car, and that led to her being killed in an act of self-defense, which is justifiable and justified. That doesn't mean it's not tragic, but again, it's her own fault. It is. We need to be honest about that. It is her own fault. And maybe the fault of her quote-unquote wife who told her to drive, baby, drive. But those are the only two people who can be blamed for this. She's also, on top of being a victim of her poor decisions, she is a victim of ideology. And it is ideology that led her to make those poor decisions, and those poor decisions got her killed. So what ideology is this exactly? It's the ideology that Trump is evil, Trump is a Nazi, law enforcement, because they work for Trump on a federal level, they're evil and Nazis as well. That ideology is essentially the only consistent thing amongst the left. I've talked about this in the past. They have no ideological consistency except for that. The only thing that every leftist consistently holds to is Trump is Hitler. Trump allies are Hitler and Nazis. That's it. And again, they'll openly say this. I'm not just saying they say this. They say this openly at protests. Here is another ridiculous leftist quite literally saying exactly this to a Daily Wire reporter on the ground at one of these protests that later devolved into riots, which was all done in response to this woman's death. Take a listen to what she says here when asked, do you think ICE is a real job?
And we've heard a lot of people today, we went to protests that talked about how ICE isn't a real job. Do you think ICE is a real job?
I mean, I think that ICE is a real job in the same way that being a member of the SS was a real job. Mm-hmm. Sure, it's a job. Mm-hmm. It's a job that the people who hold it should be condemned for and ashamed of.
And just so everybody is on the same page here, the SS was like the elite Nazi enforcers. They ran most of the concentration camps. That's what we're comparing ICE to now? Again, it's ridiculous. But if you truly believe this in your heart of hearts, which a lot of these leftists do, then yeah, block the road. Yeah, hit them with your car. Again, people are dumb enough to believe this, especially leftists. And so if you truly believe this, you make the decisions that this woman made, which ended up getting her killed. Again, her own fault. Her own fault. She chose to be ignorant instead of educating herself. She chose to succumb to this ideology instead of educating herself. And then, based off of this ideology, she chose to obstruct law enforcement, and then she chose to hit an ICE officer with her car. And then she reaped the consequences of that, which is she got shot by the officer in self-defense. Again, it's her own fault. And yet, the left will still continue to push this narrative that these people are evil. And again, just to make it clear to you that this woman chose to put herself in this situation. You heard from that one coach, the Milwaukee Bucks coach, where he said she was just probably trying to get home and she will never get home. Oh, so tragic. She wasn't trying to get home. She was trying to obstruct ICE. We now know this to be a fact. Renee Nicole Good was Minneapolis ICE Watch warrior who trained to resist feds before shooting. The mom who was killed by a federal agent after veering her car toward him was an anti-ICE warrior and was part of a group of activists who worked to document and resist the federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota, the Post can reveal. This is via the New York Post. Good, who moved to the city last year, linked up with anti-ICE activists through her 6-year-old son's woke charter school, which boasts that it puts social justice first and prioritizes involving kids in political activism. That's insane. This is a 6-year-old, and she put him in a charter school that's dedicated to involving them in activism. A 6-year-old, you should be learning your ABCs and how to count to 10. And instead, he's learning how to be an activist, and his woke mother is learning how to use her car as a weapon to attack ICE officers. This is the world the left is building. And they will still look at you and try to say, oh, she's just a victim. I mean, God in heaven have mercy. What a god-awful mother this woman is. Again, her death is tragic. Let's not take away from that. It is sad that this child is now an orphan, by the way, because of the insane actions of his crazy mother, who went and got herself killed. I mean, if it sounds like I'm being harsh here, it's because this is necessary. Because this woman isn't alone. There are dozens of other woke leftist mothers who are making similar poor choices that are going to impact the lives of their children in similar fashions. I think the unfortunate and tragic reality that I pray is not the case is that more of these situations will arise. More mothers are going to get themselves killed because they're more focused on being woke activists and social justice warriors than they are on being good mothers. Again, this woman had the highest possible calling, which is to raise the next generation. And she chose to forsake that in favor of protecting third world invaders. That's what she's doing instead. She's protecting Somali invaders who have largely defrauded this country, immigrated both legally and illegally, with the purpose of defrauding and taking advantage of this country, taking advantage of even her tax dollars, because I'm sure she had some form of income on which she must have paid taxes. But rather than being concerned with raising your child and building a better life and a better future for your child, and making sure that your child has a prosperous nation that you can pass down to them, she was concerned with defending third world invaders and was willing to get herself killed over it. This is insane. Of course, even Jasmine Crockett felt the need to weigh in. Listen to what Jasmine Crockett had to say. This woman is ridiculous. This is the most performative bullcrap I've ever seen in my life. Take a listen to Jasmine Crockett here.
It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was?
I am so glad you asked, Jasmine Crockett. I'm so glad you asked. Here's the left-wing response to Charlie Kirk getting killed.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
Who's up next? DHS, Department of Homeland Security, ICE officers, and then they're chanting, "We got Charlie in the neck." That was the left-wing response to somebody who just wanted to have conversations with people getting assassinated. And you have the audacity to compare a crazy lady who tried to kill a DHS officer with her car to what happened to Charlie Kirk. That's the type of cognitive dissonance, open lying that we are dealing with. These people are crazy. They're liars and they're crazy. God help this country, because I don't know how we're going to survive with these crazy people. Thank you very much for listening to the Next Gen Report this Sunday. We'll be back on Wednesday on the podcast at _Ethan Buchanan on X, or back here 7 p.m. Sunday.